like to thank you all for coming out to hear about the truth of nuclear energy. Today, nuclear energy is helping the environment by putting an end to air pollution. The Clean Air Act of 1970 established limits to the emission of nitrogen oxide, a precursor of ground-level ozone and smog. Scientists say nuclear energy has radioactive waste that is very harmful. But what they do not know is that nuclear energy is one of the only energies that actually takes care of its waste. Today, the facts and the evidence will show that nuclear energy should be used for the future use of energy. Nuclear energy is the world's largest source of emission-free energy. Nuclear power plants produce no controlled air pollutants, such as sulfur and particles, or greenhouse gases. The use of nuclear energy in place of other energy sources helps to keep the air clean, preserve the Earth's climate, avoid ground-level ozone formation, and prevent acid rain. Of all energy sources, nuclear energy has perhaps the lowest impact on the environment, including water, land, habitat, species, and air resources. Nuclear energy is the most eco-efficient of all sources because it produces the most electricity relative to its environmental impact. These few facts don't even reach the surface of how nuclear energy sends a positive impact on the nation.
Members of the panel and fellow peers, you are here today to witness why we should not use nuclear energy in the future. The facts and evidence will show that continuing using nuclear energy will harm us more than help us. Nuclear energy itself has to be handled carefully, and if it gets in the wrong hands, it can cause huge disruptions. The production of nuclear energy is also harmful to the environment, the economy, and us. If someone gets their hands on nuclear energy that doesn't want to use it positively, they can create a nuclear bomb and destroy much of the environment. Nuclear engineers of Exxon, one of the most productive nuclear power plants, say that renewable energies will be the future of energy. But should we use energy that costs so much? Uranium is considered a renewable resource that is needed to produce energy. But the sun, it's created by the sun and the relationship between the sun and the earth. If the relationship between the sun and the earth can't keep up with our needs for it, we may not be able to have nuclear energy. Also, people are getting cancer, leukemia, and even dying from the radiation that can be leaked from nuclear power plants. We cannot let a creation of our own kill us. Nuclear energy is far too dangerous and should not be used. So today I urge you to make your decision whether or not we should continue to use nuclear energy and let it destroy the earth piece by piece.
Nuclear energy is an energy that does not have to be developed. At lightning bolt speeds, nuclear energy is like a chain reaction. Once water enters into the condenser, it passes through the reactor vessels and the control rods to create boiling water. When the water is at the right temperature, the steam from the water goes into the steam generator, which spins in the turbine and creates energy inside the generator. The energy soon releases electricity from the generator to the power lines, which enters into houses. This rotation is repeated as seen in the picture above. Nuclear plants produce energy. This steam then turns turbines to produce the energy as seen. A nuclear fission, which happens whenever the nuclear energy is created into houses, happens when a neutron hits an atom and a nuclear reaction occurs. When the reaction occurs, when neutrons, helium, and tritium, and deuterium all collide together, and that is when the energy is developed. This stage in creating nuclear energy is just the birth of the future of technology and a better society.
Highly radioactive water has been discovered again leaking from the Fukushima nuclear plant in Japan. The site had a severe meltdown in 2011. Tokyo Electric Power Company, the plant's operator, detected contamination levels 70 times higher than normal. The reading was picked up by sensors that monitor rain and groundwater on a gutter going into the bay from the plant. Radiation poisoning is extremely bad for humans. It can lead to many different types of cancer, leukemia, or even death. If it comes to a radiation rain, the whole area will have to be evacuated.
What Lizzie is not understanding is that nuclear energy affects animal species. Because if nuclear energy, if there was a different type of energy instead of nuclear energy, let's say wind farms. The wind farms would take over more acres of land than wind energy power plants would. Wind energy power plants would only take up 200 to 400 acres of land, while wind farms only take up 150,000 to 180,000 acres of land. With that much land, 9 nuclear power plants could be installed without creating air pollution.
Another practical disadvantage of using nuclear energy is that it uses a lot of investment to set up a nuclear power station. It is not always possible by the developing countries to afford such costly source of alternate energy. A single nuclear power plant can cost on the order of $10 billion US. That is a big chunk of, that's a lot of money for just one plant. Only very large companies can afford to make that kind of investment, and it often relies on huge loans from the government or from giant mega banks. The nuclear power plants normally take 5 to 10 years to construct, as there are several legal formalities that have to be completed, and mostly it is opposed by people who live nearby. Nuclear energy consumers also have to pay a large amount to get it. Alexa, a nuclear power plant is raising prices again. Citizens Utility Board Executive Director David Coletta estimated home and electricity users would pay an additional $3 million a year.
Nuclear energy is one of the only energies that take full responsibility of its waste. Unlike other industrial waste, nuclear energy radioactivity diminishes within time. Waste created as a product of energy production in a nuclear power facility has a minimal impact on the environment. It is contained within one specified geological site where it is segregated from any impact on vital ecosystems. Also, unlike other chemical wastes such as mercury and arsen, nuclear waste does eventually decompose.
There are power reactors called breeders that produce plutonium. It is an element which is not found in nature, however, is a fissionable element. It is a byproduct of a chain reaction that is harmful if introduced to nature. The radioactive wastes are usually buried under the sand and are known as briquettes. But these wastes can be used to make nuclear weapons. The most popular nuclear weapon would be the atomic bomb. Near the end of World War II, America dropped an atomic bomb on Japan. The radius of the total destruction was about 1 mile, with resulting fires across 4.4 square miles. Americans estimated that 4.7 square miles of the city were destroyed. Nuclear energy has given us power to produce more weapons than produce things that can make our world a better place to live in. They are hot targets for militants and terrorist organizations. Security is a major concern here. A little lack in security can prove to be lethal or brutal for humans and even for this planet.
Compared to other sources of energy, nuclear energy's radiation is not natural. Other energies like coal has more natural radiation and more harmful radiation that can hurt humans. This prevents nuclear energy from having less severe radioactive rays. The uranium in nuclear energy releases radiation which exposes out into the air, and when any wildlife, plant, or human being breathes these toxic chemicals, the radiation will soon die. In the wrong hands, nuclear weapons can be very dangerous. The cost of nuclear energy is very expensive to purchase. Therefore, these are some reasons that nuclear energy could be bad.
Nuclear energy uses uranium, which is a scarce resource and is not found in many countries. Most of the countries rely on other countries for constant supply of this fuel. It is all extracted from nuclear plants. It is mined and transported like any other metal. Supply will be available as long as it's there. Once all extracted, nuclear plants won't be of any use. Due to its hazardous effects and limited supply, it cannot be termed as renewable. In 2007, nuclear power reactors in the U.S. ran at a record of 91% capacity, as the stable price of generation made it highly profitable compared to the increasing cost of natural gas and oil. Worldwide, 40 new reactors are planned on top of 438 that are now operational.
In conclusion, nuclear energy is an energy source that affects the economy immensely. Hopefully today's evidence changed your mind, and there's a lot to think about when choosing nuclear energy to be the world's next energy supply.
You may have heard my opponents say that nuclear energy does not produce any greenhouse gases. And this is true, but the radiation can cause us not to be able to make better ways to create energy. Here shows the newest Fukushima leak. It shows that this is a power plant, and the yellow-orange is the radiation that's sticking out. As you can see, it's sticking out into the water. And if it gets into the water, it can join the water cycle. And as the clouds spread, the radiation will rain on many different places. And the radiation can cause cancer, leukemia, and it can cause us to die. But even if we do stay inside, it will harm our resources. For example, it has been known to harm bees and kill them, and we won't be able to, and no one will be able to pollinate our plants, causing all of our plants to eventually die off as well. The amount of electricity we produce now will not matter in the future. We are debating if we should use nuclear energy in the future, not now. I agree that it is still important to have this data so we can make predictions of the amount of production in the future. But Japanese scientist Junichi Yamashita also says the amount of nuclear energy production is predicted to decrease by 2050 or even by 2020, and renewable energy such as wind and solar will increase. This would be caused by the radiation the uranium gives off when it's burned. As you can see in the graph, now nuclear energy is 10.6%, and it will end up at 8% which means it will go down, and as you can see,